Hey everyone, welcome back to finally another review, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the Sengoku Hattori, one of my favorite yo-yos from my sponsor Sengoku Yo-Yos. The Hattori is the latest bimetal yo-yo designed by Julio Robles. As always, I'll be covering over 5 different sections of the review. I'll be covering the history, construction, trick handling, playability, and finally my overall opinions of the yo-yo, so I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so now starting off with the first section of the review, which is the history section. And in this section I'll be going over just a little bit of background info on the yo-yo and maybe the company itself. So here we go. So prototyping for the Hattori began a couple of months ago when Julio had sort of an idea to make a yo-yo that had little to no walls at all, and putting mainly the weight on the rims of the yo-yo. You can see the Hattori accomplishes that by having sort of like a shuriken star like design, you know, right here in, you know, the main body of the yo-yo, and it has like these heavy stainless steel weight rings to focus pretty much all of the weight of the yo-yo on the rims. And the yo-yo does that by having a lot of rim weight, a lot of balance and stability, and I'll go more over that in later sections of the review. The concept for this yo-yo have only been accomplished a few times with the Breathe. I forgot which company it's from, and there's also another yo-yo that I'm thinking about and I can't remember, you know, the name of the yo-yo or the company from which it's from. But if you guys know any other yo-yos that have a similar design where it has holes within the yo-yo, then feel free to list them in the comment sections down below. So again, the concept for this yo-yo was pretty radical, and Julio wanted to really test his own designs and, you know, the manufacturing of the relatively new material, which is 7068. And the overall idea of the Hattori was simple, you know, just to make a yo-yo that was as aesthetically pleasing as it looks, while remaining completely functional for competition or for recreational use, as with pretty much every other design in Sengoku's lineup. Alright, so now moving on to the construction section of the review, and in this section I'll be just going over the specifications of the yo-yo, and as well as discussing the certain look or feel that the yo-yo is presented with. So as you can see, the Hattori is a bimetal design consisting of a 7068 aluminum body and heavy stainless steel weight rings. Now moving on to the specs of the yo-yo. Diameter is 56.66 millimeters. The weight is 63.7 grams. The width is 43.45 millimeters. The gap width is 4.7 millimeters. The bearing is a concave bearing. It also comes stock with a center track bearing. And the response is Sengoku's own katana pads, 19 millimeters. As you can see, the immediate shape is that of a throwing star, or that of a sheriff's badge, if you will. The original name of the Hattori was actually going to be the Shuriken, but Julio thought that Hattori, as in Hanzo Hattori, would suit the yo-yo a little bit better because of, you know, the overall design and the intent of what the yo-yo is supposed to be. So obviously you can see how there's multiple cuts in between the grooves and in between the stars. And if you look at the gap width, or the gap, the same design continues over here on the other side, where the cuts are sort of flared out and angled to a specific degree to where, you know, it allows the yo-yo to still spin properly, because there was multiple design infractions and, you know, just stuff holding us back from making this yo-yo because of how, you know, different the design is, because of how big the holes are. There would be a lot of air coming into the yo-yo and overall just, you know, stopping the spin time of the yo-yo because of wind resistance. But because of the way that the yo-yo is designed and the way that the holes are sort of cut and angled into the wall side, the inner and the outer, and into the hub area, it's able to spin actually a lot longer, I would find, than a lot of other yo-yos. The engraving just says Sengoku, it doesn't say Hattori. On the other side it says Sengoku as well. This is a very clean and simple aesthetic that Julio designed to go with for this particular yo-yo. Anything crazy like any other, you know, designs or any other engravings on this yo-yo would be a little bit too crazy to look at, because the yo-yo is already crazy to look at as itself. So, you know, picking a very minimalistic and clean in design and engraving just makes everything look really appealing as well. Comparing the Hattori to a few yo-yos that other people might have in their collection, So I'll be comparing it first to the Sengoku Kenshin. So as you can see, obviously the diameter is a lot bigger than the Kenshin by a millimeter or two. And also I'm going to be comparing the widths. Now the Kenshin is a little bit wider than the Hattori, as you can see right there. I'm trying to line it up as perfectly as I can. And here to the Shuta. So keep in mind that the Shuta and the Shutter have pretty much the exact same specs, except that the Shuta is 75, and you know, obviously it has a much harder material and everything. So if you have a Shutter at home, then you could just, you know, try to compare both of these yo-yos. So as you can see, they're just right about the same width, I would say, with the Hattori being just slightly wider, and the Hattori being just actually a lot bigger in diameter. And then finally, I'm comparing the Yo-Yo Factory Edge. So again, the diameter is a lot bigger than the Edge. But obviously, if you guys ever play with an Edge or own an Edge, the Edge is a lot wider than the Hattori. The Hattori is much like a Dropner or Sleepner type of size. If you ever play with any of those yo-yos, it's sort of like a perfect mid-weight, sort of mid-balanced yo-yo, where pretty much anyone and everyone can just pick it up and, you know, immediately feel familiar with it. And then now moving on to the trick handling section of the review, and this is a section where I just simply going over 4 or 5 different categories of tricks that all yo-yos should be able to handle, whether it be tech, speed, horizontal, lacerations, or grinds. Starting off with the way that the Hattori handles tech. The Hattori has a fairly large but sort of mid-sized diameter and width, which pretty much makes it, you know, a perfect all-rounder for different types of tricks and mounts and different types of technical, you know, movements and transitions. And because of the way that the Hattori is designed with all of the weight on the rims, it has a very stable and balanced feeling. This is probably one of the most balanced yo-yos that I've ever played, as in, you know, all of the weight is on the rims, and I feel like I can push the yo-yo to do longer combos and things like that without it spinning out on me. And it has, you know, a very reassuring feel because of how balanced and because of how stable the yo-yo is. Now moving on to speed, or for speed combos. Now the Hattori has a very open design to it, and it's designed to have most of the weight on the rims and pretty much no weight again in the center of the yo-yo, since, you know, hence there are, you know, holes inside of it. That pretty much helps with the overall maneuverability of the yo-yo because of how light, you know, the overall rotating mass in the center of the yo-yo is, which means there pretty much is no rotating mass in the center of the yo-yo. So all of the weight is on the outskirts of the yo-yo. So that kind of makes the yo-yo move very lightly and very nimbly, and is able to change directions extremely easily. And the weight of the yo-yo is 63 grams, as I explained in the construction section. So of course it also aids in, you know, the overall speed and maneuverability of the yo-yo. Now for lacerations, some people may think that because of the holes it might impede on certain tricks or it might cut string or anything like that, but it's not the case at all. The Hattori has a very flared out V-shaped design. It's to compensate for, you know, the design of the yo-yo, so the flared out shape of the rims and everything is slightly more than what you would find on, like, maybe on other Sengoku models with a straight V-shaped design. And, you know, lacerations are pretty much easy to hit, as with, you know, a lot of other yo-yos that might have a fairly wide or flared out width. And then for horizontal, as I explained in the text section of the review, the Hattori has, you know, again, a lot of the weight on the outside of the yo-yo. And that's another one of the highlights of the yo-yo, is that it's able to perform horizontal extremely well because of the, you know, the weight on the outside or the outskirts of the yo-yo. And it's able to be very balanced and very stable during horizontal, and, you know, just pretty much through any other combo that you can put through in horizontal. And I find that, again, because of the overall design and the weight of it, is able to fly through horizontal combos extremely easily. The gap width in the response area has a flared out or a flattened response area so that the string doesn't rub against, you know, the response. So it pretty much improves, like, I guess you would say, the slippiness of the string going through the gap when you're doing tech or horizontal. But, you know, it works really well in horizontal as well. Lines, it's pretty much a no-go because of, again, when you do finger grinds, it's not really going to work too well because of the holes. And don't even think about finger spins. You could get your finger caught in one of these holes, and I've done it a few times. I've gotten it to where it could spin somewhat right here in the middle, but eventually my finger just got caught in the holes, and it hurt like really bad. So yeah, grinds with this yo-yo, it's not really something you want to do, pretty much any grinds at all. But I think that that's a necessary sacrifice for a yo-yo with this extreme of a design. Now moving on to the playability section of the review. So the Hattori handles like a lot of other high-end Japanese bimodal yo-yos that you would expect to play with. It's extreme, sharp, fast, nimble, changes direction easily, it's stable, and many other things on top of what I just said. The Hattori is something different. Take all of what I just said about high-end Japanese yo-yos and multiply it by 2. The Hattori really takes things past 11 with its its extreme design, its extreme weight distribution, and just the overall way that it plays. Hattori has a pretty unique feeling on the string as well. It's a little hard to describe the way that the Hattori plays. The Hattori kind of has a dual personality to it, as in, it'll play like a lot of other extreme bimodals where it's very sharp and fast and stuff like that. But it's also a very fun yo-yo to where you could just take at relaxed speeds. You could really take your time with it in the pacing of the yo-yo. It's a yo-yo that doesn't really force you to play fast, or you have a feeling that you need to play fast in order to just match the feeling or the purpose of the yo-yo. So I find that the Hattori can be used by many other players who might not have a fast or extreme style. It's a very all-round, type of yo-yo. More on the feel of the Hattori. The Hattori has a very hollowed-out feel to it, meaning that, when you're doing tricks and stuff like that on it, you really don't feel any weight in the center of the yo-yo. You really feel a lot of rotating mass on the rims, and it kind of has a very hollow and nimble feel to it. And, the walls also make a really cool sound, like a cool whistling sound or like a wind sound. And I think that overall just adds to the entire character of the Hattori, and it makes it, for me, and probably many other people who've played or owned this yo-yo, more enjoyable to play with. The stainless steel weight rings make up pretty much over half of the yo-yo's weight, as in, it's using the advantage of the 7-68 material and making the walls as thin as possible, while putting a lot of the weight on the rims where it pretty much needs to be. Now the Hattori also has a pretty solid presence. When you throw it down, it kind of feels like a thud, because the stainless steel weight rings are pretty heavy, and it kind of overshadows the rest of the yo-yo. And some people may not like that feeling initially, but when you get used to it, it's pretty reassuring when you do tricks and other transitions and stuff like that. And yeah, the Hattori can pretty much handle it all, anything from fast and technical to slow and steady. It can pretty much handle a lot of things except for grinds. If that is what you want to do with the yo-yo, then by all means go right ahead. Then now moving on to the last section of the review, my personal opinions. So the Hattori is pretty much one of the best yo-yos that I've ever played with, and I think that I can say that with complete confidence because of the way that the Hattori handles. Now for me personally, a yo-yo needs to accomplish 2 things to make it a great yo-yo, or to even make it, a yo-yo that I would play with, and that's number 1. It has to be competition ready, meaning that, I could just pick up the yo-yo and use it for competition. The yo-yo can handle, a lot of the tricks that I do at fast-paced speeds, and it could, pretty much handle all of the competition-worthy, stress that these competitors put up to it. And also, number 2, the yo-yo needs to be fun to play with, I've tried many yo-yos where it has a pretty one-sided, only be used for competition, or it's a yo-yo that will be only for, recreation or fun play. While there are, of course, plenty of yo-yos out there that, actually accomplish these dual purposes for me, there are some yo-yos that I feel out there that are pretty much, one-sided, but of course the feeling of the yo-yo obviously depends on the person who was playing with it. So of course, my opinions are just my opinions. Yeah, for the second reason, the yo-yo needs to be fun for me, because, I need to be able to feel like that I can, play with it just regularly, learning tricks or creating tricks on it. you know, it's a yo-yo that I can just, again, pick up and then just use and, you know, not feel forced or worried that I should be pushing a yo-yo further out than what it really needs to be. And for me, the Hattori does all of that. You know, it's competition ready. It's also extremely fun to play with. You know, I find myself picking up this yo-yo like all the time. You know, I like learning tricks and I like creating tricks on it too. So I hope that other people who have bought this yo-yo have also felt the same or similar to what I have. And for those of you who are interested in picking up this yo-yo, you know, I definitely agree that you guys should, you know, pick up this yo-yo if you guys want something different in your collection, something of a different design, of a different feeling, and yeah. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Hattori. This review is a little long overdue. You know, sorry I've been a little late on uploading recently. You know, college has gotten pretty hectic for me a little lately with me getting ready for 2018 and just a bunch of other stuff happening in my life, but that's besides the point. I hope you guys again enjoyed this review. If you guys are interested in picking up the Hattori, new colors have dropped on Yo-Yo Expert, Yo-Yo Star Rewind, Spin Gear, and a lot of your other favorite you know, resellers. So I think you guys should check it out. I've provided a couple of links in the descriptions down below on where to buy it currently. And also I've started a Sengoku related channel only. I haven't really been uploading on that channel too much recently, but I've created that channel in order to give people more of an insight and more private info onto what's going on with Sengoku yo-yos exclusively. So if you guys are interested in learning more about Sengoku yo-yos, or if you guys want to listen out for more exclusive content that I might drop on that channel and not on this channel, my main channel, then you guys should go ahead and subscribe. It should be right here on the screen in the end credits somewhere, but I'll also post it in the description down below. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Listen in the comment section down below of any other yo-yos you guys want me to review. So I hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'm out.